I'm seeing some voltage irregularities on the instruments, so keep an eye out for sparks or flames or anything like that.
Why would there be flames? You did test this thing, right?
This is the test.
So picture this. This story is set in a future sci-fi cosmic horror setting where all the planets and stars suddenly disappear in an event that humanity calls the Quiet Rapture. The last of humanity is barely getting by, and all of a sudden they spot on a nearby moon a blood ocean. They send in a submarine with a convict named Simon inside to investigate for any trace of resources in order to survive. One thing I really do like about the movie is that it explains its premise right away and it gets straight to the point. I like that kind of exposition. Exposition! 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 Now, some of you are probably going to be asking the question, if you're not familiar with YouTube culture, who is Markiplier? Markiplier is a YouTuber who has made himself primarily famous for gameplay videos.
You're gonna die tonight. You and your taut chest and your lovely butt. You look good, sailor. Smack. Good job. Let's go. Oh, what's that over there? Captain on deck. All hail. Nice ass there. Ooh, nice face too. How about you? Do you have a taut buttocks? Smack. Good job. I'm normal. I'm normal. Sorry, I'm normal. I just beamed my kid in the back of the head with a gallon of milk. Perfectly normal dad stuff.
In which, whether by himself or with a group of friends, he plays various games, has some laughs together.
Hello, everybody. Markiplier here, along with Bob and...
Oh, what? How? I die already!
Hey, my name is Wadey, and he's a telephone, so call him maybe.
Wait, I have telephone. I am hidden.
Wasn't that a Lady Gaga song, too?
I don't think that was who it was.
Or, I don't know. Call me on my telephone. You never had to go to voicemail. I'd always pick you up or text you back.
I hear so much chaos around.
What's happening?
Bob, yeah.
He also has made some comedy videos here and there. He's made himself primarily famous by allowing himself to persist through horror games.
I'm just the key maniac. I'm just stomping through the woods with a key in front of me. Ah, where's the blacksmith?
He got quite popular for playing horror games like Amnesia, Slender, and his fame really skyrocketed with the Five Nights at Freddy's series.
Hello, everybody. My name is Markiplier, and welcome to Five Nights at Freddy's.
They'll most likely see you as a metal endoskeleton without its costume on. Now, since that's against the rules here at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, they'll probably try to forcefully stuff you inside a Freddy Fazbear suit.
Oh, I get it.
Good night.
Good night! Oh, no! Oh, that's bad! I understand what I need to do. I need to watch the cams so that they don't come after me. What's missing? Oh, hi! There you are, pretty bunny thing.
I remember watching Markiplier prior to his success with the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, which even he acknowledged was getting rather tired out the longer it stretched out. Like, too much butter, too much thin bread. Some years ago, Markiplier played a game called Iron Lung, and he was so captivated by this game, well, obviously he wanted to adapt it. So I just got back from watching Markibu's debut movie, Iron Lung. Yes, it turns out that YouTubers seem to be making entries into cinemas these days. But who am I to talk? That's nothing new when you've got Jacksepticeye and others making cameos in films like Free Guy and making voice appearances in Sonic Prime, and you got Bo Burnham on Netflix and Zach Gato and Michael Cusack on Adult Swim and so on and so forth. It's clear that YouTubers are becoming a recognizable talent, up and coming, when it comes to the creative industries. But even with that innovation to allow people with a genuine passion to make what they want to make, The question at the end of the day is what they're making good? Is it of worthwhile quality? The film in topic today is a sci-fi cosmic horror movie based on an independent cosmic horror video game that the YouTuber Markiplier really liked to such an extent that he financed, wrote, directed, and acted in his cinematic debut, Iron Lung, based on the game made by a man named David who collaborated in the short film with him, so this film acts as an excellent love letter and companion piece to the game itself.
So Iron Lung's a film adaptation of the video game of the same name from the very successful YouTube personality Markiplier. Written by Markiplier, directed by Markiplier, stars Markiplier. Also noteworthy is the fact that this is completely self-funded by Markiplier, was independently released by him. Safe to say, what you see on screen is what he wanted on screen. This didn't feel like someone who wanted to get into filmmaking, so he's kind of biting the bullet, doing this thing he doesn't want to do, so it'll hopefully take off, make him some money so he can do the thing he does want to do. No, from beginning to end, you feel like this is his thing. This is what he wants to do. He's a fan of the game who wanted to adapt the game for him and probably other fans of the game.
So clearly, from beginning to end, you could see that there was a lot of passion and effort put into this adaptation. Honestly, this might just be one of the best video game adaptations I've seen just on that feat alone. Something that Welcome to Silent Hill clearly did not pick up on. I don't usually cover horror movies on this channel. With that said, I did mention Weapons and Good Boys being particular highlights that I liked from 2025. But what makes this horror movie an exception is that the creator of this film, like me, is a YouTuber. So just thought I'd do good old Marky Moo a favor and just help him out with get some recognition for something he was clearly wanted to make. And something to note that this is less of an in-your-face kind of horror movie compared to other horror movies. This is more like a slow exploration of sheer overwhelming dread. That's usually what cosmic horrors of the Lovecraftian type usually excel at when it comes to their storytelling. But ultimately, the question is this movie actually good? I personally think it's a really good movie. I wouldn't exactly call it a masterpiece per se, but I'd still say it was worth my time and investment. Why is that? This movie has a lot of things that work genuinely well, but also a few areas where it kind of falters, but at least in my opinion, not to such an extent that it makes for a lackluster experience. Okay, let's just get the biggest complaint out of the way. Chances are, if you've typed up Iron Lung movie review, you're going to come across several reviews of people who said that the movie was boring. I believe those people are the kinds of people who expected something more fast-paced. I think those are the kind of people who didn't really quite understand the source material in the same way Mark did. Because the original game, Iron Lung, is a pretty slow-paced game. You spend a lot of the time confined to the small, rusty, makeshift submarine and just spending a lot of the time trying to figure out coordinates on where to find specific resources and evidences to send back to the higher-ups that be. It's a slow-burn game, so if the movie is going to be a faithful adaptation to the game, it's also got to be a slow burn. That's just the nature of it. Unfortunately, I am patient enough for that kind of movie. After all, I have given immense endorsement for films like Stalker, which is a very slow film, but a film I found to be very, very investing. And I believe the audience I've gathered will be very much into slow burn kind of movies as well. You just need the patience to see it through, but even with that said, the first half of this movie isn't as strong as the second half. In the second half of the movie, the thematics and the overall story really pick up the pace as it ought to. Granted, there is a lot of worth in sitting through the first half and seeing Simon, the convict portrayed by Markiplier, seeing him just figure out how to navigate the ship and what little nooks and crannies he can gain access to, how he can make the best of the horrible situation that he's in, all that stuff. The overall presentation from everyone involved, I'd say it got better as the movie went along. And I think that can be greatly exemplified by Markiplier's performance itself. It starts off as a very typical grungy guy, or at least, an attempt to imitate a grungy guy. You know, nothing terrible, but you could sense probably kind of forcing it in there. But as the movie went along, Markiplier started gaining more confidence and getting into the flow of a compelling performance, as did the rest of the crew, with how they took advantage of specific camera shots and cinematography to make the submarine seem claustrophobic, as well as taking advantage of like the spectacle and the visual effects and so on and so forth. In regards to Markiplier's acting, in regards to him getting used to it over time, I have seen that kind of thing before. I remember seeing this theatrical musical years ago, which involved a group of young participants, and they started off not projecting their voice that well, but the more that the production went along, the more the confidence started to grow. I sensed that kind of confidence gradually growing with Markiplier in this movie. I sense he's a great actor. He really is. He has the ability to emote and to make the character that he's portraying fairly relatable. It just takes him a while to make that character compelling, make it his own, and make it seem not quite so forced in. But other than that, it's a pretty compelling performance from beginning to end.
At first, I couldn't not see Markiplier. Like, he was overcooking it a bit. He had this badass low voice. Let's get this done. I was like, oh, is it gonna be like this the whole time? But as the movie went on, I felt like the dude really did find his stride. Markiplier's not bad at acting, you know, like, he's solid at the job. I thought it was gonna be a disaster, dude. I'm like, okay, well, it stars him, it's directed by him, it's written by him, no one can say no, it's self-funded by him. Here's open. But he did surprise me, you know, so props. And I felt the atmosphere, also the sound design, it totally works, and I can see it being this way, to a T, in the game.
The visual effects overall, I'd say are really great. Obviously, you can tell that this isn't really high budget, but for such a small budget, they really took full advantage of whatever they could get their hands on. It helps that the majority of this film only has one setting, and they were able to make that as practical as possible.
Right, you know, that analog, futuristic, solid, it'll get the job done, but might have been made in someone's garage kind of feel. It was effective, it was some solid atmosphere for sure. He's in a mysterious scenario with no information whatsoever, so the scenario kind of becomes a puzzle. He's trying to solve the puzzle, you know, crossing the wires. It feels like Resident Evil when you get the book and you realize you got to turn the book to the side, open the book, and there's a medallion in it. That kind of puzzle fare in a small sub with zero visibility out the window. But he does have an X-ray camera that can take X-ray pictures so he can see where he's going to a point. All this is to say it did feel like a video game adaptation, and probably an accurate one at that.
And they use CGI comparatively sparingly, and they use it reasonably well for what little time they use it for. The overall atmosphere is fairly well executed. The sound design, with one major exception, is fairly investing. Although, yeah, there is one major problem with the sound design. It's that there's some moments where the character Simon is having to hear the radio voice, but also there's this eldritch abomination demon talking to Simon as well, and the overall dialogue is fairly distorted, and you could make the case that that was on purpose to really add to the sense of dread, but at the same time, chances are the filmmakers wanted us to get a clear coherence of what the demon is trying to say to Simon in order to further torment him. Was that meant to be up for adaptation, or was that meant to be clear? Because there were some people were saying, I could not comprehend what was being said at all unless I used subtitles. And the fact that there's subtitles there which clearly say what the Eldritch Abomination demon is saying, that seems to align with the idea that the filmmakers intended the audience to get a clear grasp of what the Eldritch Abomination is saying, but it ends up getting muddled and fuddled, so the conveyed message is lost in translation, as it were. I mean, the overall sound design is great on the big screen. This is definitely a cinematic big screen experience. It's just not quite super honed in as it could have been. And it's debatable as to whether the film should have been as long as it is. Maybe it could have been slightly tighter with a bit more focus on character development. whilst others can make the case that it needed to be that long in order to build that sense of atmosphere with the chores and figuring out how the ship functions. I suppose it's debatable, but either way, I think everyone can unanimously agree that the second half of the movie is still better than the first half of the movie. But regardless of whether the specific points of the movie worked or not, the overall quality of the thematics seems to work quite well. The thematics of this cosmic dread of only getting brief glimpses of these ultimate answers only to be fatally doomed. This other theme that I've noticed of the fear of abandonment in regards to Simon's past that hurts him and his distrust with the people he's working with, as well as this eldritch abomination that's messing with his mind. This sense of a fear of abandonment permeates throughout the entire movie, and it's something that Simon has to wrestle with before ultimately deciding that he'd be willing to sacrifice himself if it meant the preservation of humanity, even for just a glimpse, for something. Prior to recording this video, I listened to Jeremy Jahns and Moist Critical to get a sense of how to elaborate on interpreting this movie. And I also wanted to hear personally from a rather unusual reporter heavily affiliated with Markiplier. The one and only Wilford Warfstache, here now. Wilford Warfstache, what do you make of this movie?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and other configurations of being. My name is Wilford Warfstache, and I'm back with some hard-hitting journalism, or in this case, journalism as it pertains to movie criticism. And in today's bout of journalistic movie criticism, I will be talking about the devilishly handsome Markiplier's cinematic debut, Ein Lang. It is quite the investing movie, with impressive visual effects, an investing score, and investing pacing. Yes, I was able to be patient enough to get through the movie, thanks to the handsome Markiplier's stellar acting performance. I'd say it's on par, if not superior, to Leonardo DiCaprio.
No complete 100% bias on your end, of course, right?
Oh, no, I'm not being 100% unfairly biased in any sense of the word.
Right.
I'm just inserting my ever-so-not-so-biased opinion into this bit of movie criticism. This is an excellent movie debut from Markiplier. Such an investing movie. I look forward to whenever he gets to making more movies. Honestly, I'm surprised he didn't take charge in teaming up with Jim Henson to make the Five Nights at Freddy's movies. Then again, that movie could have been well run by Jack Black, for all I know. I'll leave that interpretation to you. Anyway, that's about enough movie criticism I have to say on my end.
Thank you, Wilford Warfstache, for your reporting input. I'm sure it will come very much in handy for this review.
I'll have to say, go watch the movie if you haven't seen the movie. I don't think you've lived, in my not-so-biased opinion. Anyway, I'm off to go find Slenderman again. I think he's being awful naughty.
Go back to whatever reporters like you do.
Farewell, ScotsThinker. On with your review.
Thank you. Bye. I do get the sense that in order to get a full grasp of this movie, you're going to have to do some lore research in the game. Although this is a pretty faithful adaptation to the game because the game plays in a similar manner where you're slowly going through the submarine, you're trying to find these little hints and pieces, and you only get brief amount of glimpses before a big cosmic fish like devours the submarine and swallows you whole to the hereafter. I think on that basis, it does definitely work well as a companion piece and love letter to the original source material. I'll say this. If you liked playing the Iron Lung game, you're going to love this movie. I can guarantee it. I could take the time to break it all down, but overall, I think I'd be willing to give this movie a 9 out of 12. Pretty much the same rating I gave to Squid Game Season 1. It's where it has a lot of excellent, genuinely brilliant qualities, but there's a few elements that prevent it from fully becoming a masterpiece. Akin to, say, like, Amadeus or the like. What do you make of this movie? Do you agree with me or do you disagree with me? Are there elements about this movie that I didn't articulate on that you could? Let me know in the comments down below and we'll get a conversation started. Thank you all so much for watching. And Markiplier, if for some reason you watch this video by algorithmic odds, then I want to say bravo for your first attempt at a cinematic debut. I genuinely think you have potential, you have passion, keep that passion burning alive to live, not to kill yourself. From what I understand, you're clearly a man who's willing to learn from his mistakes. And so next time you make a movie of a similar caliber, maybe a slightly higher budget, who knows, then you genuinely have potential. Obviously, this is a movie that you genuinely cared about making. This isn't a movie that somebody didn't want to make in hopes that they'll get recognized in the filmmaking industry. No. You weren't in it for that. You made this movie because you cared about the source material, you loved the source material, and I love that sense of passion about you. I hope you can keep that up for your next project. You've got a lot to improve on in regards to the overall quality of your acting, but you are genuinely great at acting, I guarantee it. You have a great sense of pacing when it comes to the source material, although you may have to double check on that kind of thing for your next production. Overall, Markiplier, you genuinely have potential. If this is something you genuinely want to keep doing, then learn your lessons, keep it up, you have potential. Love you, man. So, in the meantime, ScotsThinker signing out.
And I'll see